Welcome to a macro view of the SPB147. This is the 62 mass reimagination issued by Seiko about a couple of years ago. I have both the versions of this watch, the one with the lume pip at 3 o'clock, which is the new version, and this is the older version. The change obviously happened because of the change in the ISO norms, which required that plot at 3 o'clock. So the newest models have the lume plot at 3 o'clock. Extremely beautiful watch, goes without saying. Just amazing the level of design on this watch. It has a very bold metal bezel, a very strong bezel, and that's what makes it a reimagination, because the original 62 mass, which I have here, had that thin bezel this is essentially a copy of a reissue of the original 62 mass from 1965 through 1967. So this had the reissue, obviously had the nice ceramic bezel, but the lower priced SPB147 has a steel bezel, and I think it actually looks beautiful. It does not have, let's start with the crown. Obviously it does not have a signed crown, because Seiko does not put signed crowns unless it's their top of the line watch. Nowadays they will not put a signed crown anymore, and that's okay. If you ask me, I don't see a problem. I know the 62, the SLA has a signed crown, as you can notice there's really no difference between the two. I actually think this one looks much nicer. I'm only doing this because I've got my macro rig set up. I've already done pretty exhaustive reviews of this watch, but I wanted to see how it looked under a macro rig, especially when I don't knock the camera off the stand. Many people say that this kind of looks like a Tudor Black Bay, and I would agree. It has obviously that detailing. Let me just give it a quick polish, and that is really the problem with these super shiny watch surfaces, is they pick fingerprints so easily and smudges that all this fancy wannabe Zaratsu, this is not Zaratsu, but wannabe Zaratsu polishing just makes no sense, because it'll always be so smudged. That's why I like the circular brushing on this really iconic case, even though the 62 mass really has the correct way of doing it. And you can see the different grades of steel out here. You see how this is a bit more whiter than the DuraShield in this, but hey, it just doesn't matter. Honestly, they're both equally good. It's just how much money are you willing to spend. And again, I'm gonna stress, you don't need to spend a lot of money to get a good watch. You can get a really good watch for as low as $15. Go get a Casio. That is a perfectly fine watch, the F91W. It is such an iconic watch. Let's try to see if we can pick the details of the hands. You'll realize it has two faces. Both are polished, so they really do look like swords in this as they catch the light. The lume plots have a nice pillow effect which reflects the light back. The date is unfortunate, because yes, it has a very cheap looking date cutout. You have to just look at the date on the 62 mass to understand what the date should be, but that's just on Seiko. It is unfortunate they didn't put a border around the date. I don't know why. And I may, many people don't like the white background of the date wheel, and yeah, I think they're right. It doesn't bother me, but I can see why it would bother some people. My watch has perfect alignment of the bezel. I know these days it's fashionable to beat up on Seiko saying how they have bad bezel alignment, but my alignment is as perfect as it can be, so no problems there. Very smooth bezel action. Obviously it's got the nice coin edge bezel. There you go, perfectly aligned. I think the bold bezel on this looks really lovely, and you do have the Prospex logo, and obviously if you don't want that Prospex logo, you have to spend $6,000 to get a watch without the logo. I don't think it's worth it. I don't care. You can, to me, whether the watch has a logo or not just doesn't matter. I think people overrate their watches too much. Buy a watch that makes you happy. Don't buy a watch to impress other people. Nobody's impressed by watches, honestly, because they're too little objects too far away on somebody's wrist. For example, I have my Landmaster here. My Landmaster is just as desirable, in my opinion, as any of my Seikos. In fact, this watch is part of the giveaway, so I won't be having this watch for long. So whoever gets this watch, congratulations, you'll be very lucky. I hope you enjoy this watch. And while I have it, let me just see if there's anything else that we needed to show on this. Not really. Yeah, it's got that standard Prospex logo with, so you can see 03 means this was manufactured on March of 2020. It's a 6R35 movement. Really beautiful polishing, and the brushing and polishing is just exquisite on this watch. But my favorite really is the dial and the bezel. I don't think Seiko has ever made a diver. This will rank as one of the greatest dive watch designs that Seiko ever made, and I really think it will, I forget price. If price were not an object, these two are both equally great watches. Of course, this has your Zaratsu polishing on the chapter ring. This doesn't have Zaratsu polishing, this is brushed. But we've done that comparison. This is just meant to be a macro view because I had the setup ready to go. Hope you enjoyed that video, and I will see you on a later video. Please be sure to hit the subscribe button if you haven't subscribed, and let me know in your comments what your thoughts are.